Please welcome him with the big hand, ladies and gentlemen.
마이크를 켜주시기 바랍니다.
강연의 타이틀은 한메콩 전략적 파트너십 하에서 양측 간의 어떤 시빌 소사이어티 솔리데리티가 어떻게 발전돼 나오느냐, 이제 그 문제에 대해서 여러분들하고 좀 이야기를 나누고자 합니다. 오늘 이 기조 강연인 만큼 제일 첫 번째는 이제 시빌 소사이어티 솔리데리티를 지금 다루려고 하고 있고요. 한국과 메콩 간의 시빌 소사이어티 솔리데리티가 어떻게 발전돼 나왔느냐, 이제 그 점을 한번 짚어볼 것 같고요. 두 번째는
And a second part is that why Mekong region is gaining attention from the world. That is the second part. And the third part is that how Korea is growing its partnership with Mekong for the past decade. And the fourth part is that by having the first and second ROK Mekong summits, what kind of progress we have made. And next, I will also explain our cooperation with our other partners like Japan, China, US, India, and these countries are also having a cooperation with Mekong states, and I will give some information about this. After that, there are many multilateral regional mechanisms like the MRT, GMS, and the pilot, MX, Mekong Institute, and others. These multilateral organizations' collaboration with Korea will be also explained later. And last but not least, I will also talk about a kind of policy initiatives the two parties have to wage to enhance mutual prosperity. So as you can see from this map, on the left side, you can see the flow of Mekong River. This is the main artery of the Mekong River, but it also has so many tributaries. It starts at Tibet Mountain, and it goes through 13 countries in Southeast Asian countries to the South China Sea as the final destination. So there are some dams in the Mekong River causing some controversy. China is building 11 dams along the Mekong River, and 8 additional dams are in the pipeline. And those countries facing Mekong River, they have this 2 power plants, and the 7 power plants are being planned. These power plants are creating various issues and controversies. That's the current status. And as you can see on the map on the right side, these are the division between the Asian countries. So you can see the continental Asian countries and the oceanic Asian countries. So this is the first part of my presentation. How civil society solidarity between ROK and the Mekong region has emerged since the 1990s. And what are the major events that has started this solidarity? I think the major event is the democratization of Korea in 1987, and followed by 1988 Seoul Summer Olympics. And in 1989, there was this Korea-ASEAN Dialogue Partnership. As you very well know, in 1989, there was this, after this Korea-ASEAN Dialogue was formed, in 2019, there was this ROK-ASEAN special summit in the Busan, marking the 30th anniversary of the forming relation between Korea and ASEAN. Even though this is called a relation, I believe that the relation between the organization like ASEAN is called dialogue or partnership. And after forming this dialogue, I believe that the relations between Korea and the Mekong region countries have developed so much. And as you well know, in 1991, there was this joint joining of membership of two Koreas, and after that, there were some incidents that many people paid more attention to the relations between the two. And in the 1990s, there was this industrial training program which facilitated the exchanges between civil society. And in 1992, in Rio, Brazil, there was this UN Environment Summit, and many NGO leaders of Korea participated in the Rio Summit. And after that, in the Vienna, Austria, there was this Human Rights International Summit, where our NGOs from Asia, East Asia, and the Mekong states participated and raising awareness about the region. And after that, various trends like the SNS development and the increase of public advocating lawyers, the new establishment of the development agencies and the active labor movement, all of these trends, they are the trigger points to facilitate the cooperation between Korea and the Mekong region. And secondly, then how? As I told you, there have been many forms of cooperation between Korea and ASEAN and other Mekong region countries. And what kind of collaborations have there been? I will just give you some examples. The most important issues are the marriage migrants and migrant workers and the multicultural families' impact in the Korean society. These are the issues that are called as prime concern for Korean people, and the poverty issue, education issue, how we can help the students in the underprivileged environment, inter-Korean issue, and refugee issues, and how Korean businesses are making business activities in the ASEAN region and the Mekong region, and whether there is any possibility of adverse effects from the business activities of Korean businesses in the Mekong region. And East More Independent Movement, that is also a very major issue. The Environment Network of Asia, and there were other opportunities to monitor election activities in this Mekong region. So these are kind of activities that we have been engaged in for the past years to address major issues. And we also try to help out the Vietnamese communities that were affected by the Vietnamese war. And we are also doing various development and cooperation projects, and to ensure the success of these development projects, we need to do monitoring activities. So monitoring activities have been conducted, and we also extend the support for the independence movement in Burma. And as you can see, we also tried to protect the human rights of the sexual minorities and try to revive the farming communities and try to curb the spread of infectious diseases and making joint responses to the COVID-19 pandemic, trying to reduce sexual traffic and prevent the sexual traffickers from committing a crime, and how we can monitor the implementation process of various initiatives and projects. These are the areas that collaboration has been made. Then, going forward, how civil societies in the Korea, in the Mekong region, and extension to the East Asia can focus on to further collaboration in the future. This is another issue that we have to talk about. And I believe that the peace ODA can be one way, and one area that should take a priority. As you well know, the Mekong region is highly dependent on the agricultural sector. So developing the rural communities and the agriculture sector is very important for the Mekong region. Another one is that preservation of the cultural heritage sites. What kind of contributions we can make to safeguard these heritage sites. And the next area is healthcare sector. Healthcare sector is becoming more important in the COVID-19 pandemic era, how we can build the medical infrastructure and how we can tackle poverty issues in the Mekong region and provide access to quality education. So these are the priority areas that we have to think about. Another one is to reduce the digital divide and the development divide. This is also very important and pending issue right now. And next, human trafficking and kidnapping of women. These are also very serious crimes that we have to tackle, and try to spend much time to come up with some solution. And the environmental degradation issue is also a very important one that we have to think about. In addition to that, the smart city development and sustainable city development are also a very important topic that are emerging right now. And climate is very important. Climate action is very necessary right now, and I believe that Mekong states are heavily affected by climate change. Therefore, we have to come up with some ways to address climate crisis issue, protect the ecosystem, and preserve the biodiversity in this region. Droughts in the Mekong region and the rise of sea level inundating the farmland in Vietnam. This is also a very serious climate issue that is affecting this region. And another issue that I keep talking about is the migrant workers and how we treat these migrant workers in our own respective communities. And in all of these areas, civil societies have to be very vocal and increase their presence to tackle these issues. Another one is water resources management, how we manage water resources. This is not just up to the government. Civil societies also have rooms to intervene. And another very important emerging topic is how we harmonize the development agenda with the environmental protection. This is also a very important issue that calls for a constant pondering and discussion between all of the participating civil societies so that they can provide ideas and make suggestions to their own respective governments. And I mentioned before that there are some dams being built on the artery of Mekong River, but if you just count in the dams along the tributaries, there are more than hundreds of dams being built. Of course, developing water resources is important, but the dams, especially large-scale dams, can give a big impact on people living in nearby villages. So this is an approach that we have to cautiously take. And I believe that the fresh water, fish from fresh water is a very important industry for Mekong states, and the fish from Mekong River, they account for 20% of the total fishes consumed by the people in Mekong states. So they are getting proteins from fish from fresh water. Therefore, the quality of the Mekong River is so important for the health of these people. This lower Sasan-2 dam in Cambodia, it was reported by the Financial Times, and China is right now doing One Belt, One Road initiative, and this dam is a part of this one BRI initiative. It is located in the one very small tributaries of Mekong River. Because of that, it was not heavily reported. And secondly, there is another dam that is causing controversy. That's Sengpian Namnoi Dam in Laos. Our company was building a dam, and because of the heavy rainfall, the dam just collapsed, and it was very also heavily reported in the media. You have to be aware of the presence of these dams. That is why I'm mentioning these dams. And this map would show you the dams along the Mekong River. In Chinese territory, there are 11 dams, and as you can see, there are 2 in Laos and Cambodia. And in the lower part, you can see the white circle that shows Lower Sasan-2 Dam. That made headlines in the Financial Times. And next, there are so many things that I have summarized here. Food security is also a very important issue, along with sustainable infrastructure. And all of these activities we want to do is to achieve the UN SDG by 2030. So these issues and goals are very aligned with the UN SDG, and SDG's predecessor is UN MDG. And for the next 15 years, these goals are providing guidelines for the international community for a desirable direction, and all of our activities are very much closely aligned with the UN SDGs. And next is about the non-traditional security threats. In detail, like a global pandemic, climate change, and drug trafficking, all of these issues belong to this category. We need to pay more attention to these issues, and for Mekong states, after the Indo-China War, landmines and these unexploded ordnances, they are still there, remained in the ground, posing a threat to passers-by, and so many people could be injured or be killed even because of these unexploded landmines. And how to unearth and find these landmines is another issue, very important issue for the Mekong states. And Korea right now, through the Future Peace Initiative, is trying to create a transition in the Mekong states, and Mekong states are also having their own initiative for a peaceful development. And for those initiatives, I'd like to ask for more attention from you. And as you can see from the slide, in the advanced economies, there are many multilateral meetings, and whenever there are multilateral meetings to be held, in a parallel to the multilateral forum, NGOs have their own forums and meetings to exchange their opinions and ideas. But when it comes to the relationship between Korea and the Mekong region, we don't have any such civil society forum, regional forum, in parallel to the multilateral summits between governments. And I think we need to pursue this line by hosting the NGO forums on the sideline of the multinational government summits. In the interest of time, I cannot just give you every detail about every slide, so I would like to skip some slides, and I will be just very brief. Why Mekong region is so important? Some say that the Mekong region will be the second South China Sea. stronger powers are having rivalries over the Mekong region, and the rivalry is becoming very severe. So many people are voicing concern about the possibility and why the Mekong region is getting so much more attention from the world, because it is strategically located between Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean. This is a very strategic location, and the BRI and FOIP, these are two conflicting initiatives that are confronting with each other in the Mekong region. Mekong region is a flashpoint between these two initiatives. And as you can see from these two maps, on the left side, you can see this U.S. Indo-Pacific strategy, the Quad initiative that connects four countries, and these four Quad countries are closely related to the Mekong region. And on the right side, you can see the South China Sea. As you can see, according to the UN Oceanic Law, there are the territories marked for each country over the ocean. Nine-dash line is the line that China claims China has drawn to make a claim over its territory. So Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, they are voicing opposition that they cannot just accept this territorial line. But since China is such a strong power, they cannot make their voice heard. And after a few years, there's this international lawsuit between the Philippines and China, and the Philippines has won this case. I think that was the 90% victory for the Philippines, but China made an appeal after the ruling over the disputes of this ocean. So this is a point for controversy in the Mekong region. Is a region where the strong powers come against one another, and that is why the Mekong region is getting so much attention from the world.
And at this slide, it says China presenting special challenges. Currently, China is asking for too much from other nations beyond the limits. Those are listed here, so please take a look here. And what matters from our perspective is that if we split half into Asia, and there are northern parts and southern parts, and there are oceanic Asian nations, what supports the Asian economy is the Mekong economic bodies. Before the COVID pandemic, about 6%, 7% of growth rate was shown, and the population is really young. Those around 30 take a huge part of the entire population, which means they have a great, enormous growth potential. So there will be more active economic cooperation in the years to come, currently hindered by COVID, but there are a lot of potentials, so we are likely to expand our economic interactions in the future. Next is how the ROK-Mekong partnership has evolved. Back in 2011, the first foreign ministers meeting between Korea and Mekong began, so it has been around 1 decade. But if we take a look at other states, Japan or other countries, they were ahead of us. But despite the fact of that, Korea's existence is being recognized widely in Mekong member states. Korea's true belief. So Korea does not have its own agenda. Other strong nations, they have their own agenda while supporting Mekong nations. So they want to take some unilateral measures, but Korea is not like that. So currently, Korea is seeking new southern policy. So they want to increase the quality of life of Mekong states. So Korea is showing that true intention. Let's say if we want to have a lunch with 10 friends, say, you need to spend a lot of time, right? Because those 10 friends have their own plans. So if you want to plan a day, then it'll consume a lot of time. And there were 3 summits in Korea, 2 times in Busan, 1 time in Jeju, and Secretary General from Korea included. And imagine how difficult it would be to plan a schedule because each member has their own things. But I think those member states believe in Korea's original honor, willingness to partnership, seek this partnership. So that is what it seems. So that is just like planning a lunch with 10 friends. That is why we were able to plan this so easily, like just a lunch or plan with friends. So we decided to have a yearly annual meeting with Mekong states, and we had the inaugural summit, and we had the second summit last year. And what was the major achievement was a comprehensive partnership. We swifted that into a strategic partnership. What is the difference between comprehensive and strategic partnership? Why are we keep talking about this? Strategic partnership, there is no limit to talk about. The Korea-US strategic partnership, then there is no limitation on topics. So we can include many things. For discussion issues, you not being restricted to anything is a very important element of strategic partnership. That is the key. This year, the third Korea-ASEAN Mekong Summit is planned, I think, in October this month. There will be a meeting online, and this year is the Korea-Mekong interaction year. And there is a saying that this will be extended for 1 more year. So after the inaugural and second summit, and through all these summits, Korea and Mekong's partnership were really strengthened, and bilateral fruitful benefits were given. And Korea can share its experience and other assets and values. So we're firm in this. So at the third summit, I think we will have fruitful results. If you take a look at this slide, the United States, Japan, China, India, and Australia, those key members are interacting with Mekong states. I cannot cover all of them, but around 15 or so countries are involved here. The Mekong region is being a stage for economic cooperation and partnership. On the 21st of May, there was Korea-United States Summit, and Korea, KOICA, and the United States to say they will take collaboration to support Mekong's economic development. So we muster our efforts with those friends organizations, Japan's JICA and Taiwan's TICA. So if we muster our efforts and share our strengths and support this, that will be really important. And Japan has engaged in a long partnership, and also China is strengthening their cooperation here. And you must have heard of One Belt, One Road initiative. And regarding this initiative, have you ever heard of AIIB? The AIIB, Asia Infrastructure Bank. And then what matters next is LMC, I would say. Next is multilateral cooperation. Here comes MRC, Mekong River Commission, and MECMAS and GMS. And China is involved here. And here comes Mekong Institute, which is a think tank to seek cooperation. And Korea is also involved. Not only Korea, Asia, but also Korea Mekong. We're involved here. Currently, Korea and Mekong, in order to strengthen our cooperation, what should we do? What should we do in the post-COVID pandemic era? Korea announced a new Southern Policy Plus initiative, and there are 7 key factors. And when it comes to Asia, there's a comprehensive recovery framework. We announced that framework. So, new Southern Policy Framework Plus and Asian Comprehensive Recovery Framework combined. We take collaborative efforts. Well, then that will help us overcome from this COVID pandemic era. And because of time limits here, I will have to wrap up my presentation. And I wish my presentation helped you to broaden your perspectives. Thank you very much.